Am I the a-hole for ruining my sister's wedding? I, 24 female, was with my ex-fiancé Nathan, 27, since I was 13 and he was 15. He was my first love, my first everything. We got engaged when I was 20, and about 6 months after we found out we were expecting. Unfortunately, I miscarried a couple days later, and that was the worst moment of our lives. We always dreamed about starting a family early, so this was a major blow to us individually and to our relationship. I fell into deep depression, and I admit I was wrong for only caring for the loss I felt, and not my partner's. We argued a lot. He partially blamed me, and I accused him of not knowing how it felt to lose a life you were growing inside you. We were hurting each other, and decided to separate for a while. That while turned into a year. We still kept in contact. I went to therapy and worked on healing myself, and he even came to a few sessions with me. We decided to get back together shortly after my 23rd birthday. However, the relationship wasn't the same. He was somewhat withdrawn from me, and I thought it was because he still blamed me, and I was sick, overthinking and worrying. It got to the point where I was going backwards in my process, so I decided to snoop through his phone. That's when I found out during the year we separated that he had been confiding in my sister, 27, and it turned to something intimate. He cut it off when we got back together, but the damage was done. She was pregnant. Turns out our parents and some of our friends knew about this. I kicked him out and cut off everybody he knew. Well, a couple of weeks ago, I got an invite to the wedding. Something snapped inside of me. I got drunk and I took a cab to my parents' house where they were throwing a party for them. Most of my family was there, and I basically showed up and gave a whole "screw you" speech to everybody. My sister ran upstairs in tears, and my parents called me Nahal for ruining the prospect of their wedding. I said good, because nobody apologized to me. Everybody just kept saying we were separated. Things happen and people fall in love. I should be happy for them. That the heart wants what it wants. The worst part is, my sister told me maybe my baby died for a reason so she could get her happy ending. I'm regretting getting drunk now because I'm not a confrontational person, but I was so upset. Am I the a-hole? Edit. Thanks for all the support and encouraging words so far. I know this update is coming so soon, but I'd like to tell you guys a joke. My sister called from an unknown number a couple minutes after I posted this. I've blocked everyone. She asked, well, more like demanded, that I return the ring fiancé bought, since it would be disrespectful to keep anything from him knowing they're starting a family. She said how immature of me for basically not sucking it up and being happy for her. She even intended to make me her maid of honor. I apologized to her for ruining her party, and told her I'd mail the ring. But as for me and her, we're done. And to tell my parents the same. I'm here bawling my eyes out waiting on my therapist to finish with another patient, so I don't turn to bottle again and go off again. Now for the top comments. I started dating my ex when I was 15 and we broke up when I was 23. If he ended up dating my sister, knocking her up, and then marrying her, I would lose my crap. While barging into a party, screaming at them wasn't exactly the healthiest decision you can make. Personally, I say screw them. They clearly don't care about you, and if you got some relief from doing what you did, I say congratulations. Not the a-hole. I did get some relief in the moment, but now I'm just so drained. Also, do not send that ring back. Sell it and use the money to help pay for your therapy. It's the least they can do. Holy crap, not the a-hole. My sister told me maybe my baby died for a reason so she could get her happy ending. Who the hell says that to anyone, let alone their sister? You had a miscarriage, which is heartbreaking enough. And then your sister swoops in and steals your partner and has the audacity to say something like that? I'm angry for you right now. I am so sorry that you've had to go through this BS. She was there for me during the miscarriage. I cried on her lap, and she was the first person I called when the doctors informed me. That broke me so much. I don't know how much therapy is going to fix me. Not the a-hole. Your own freaking sister said maybe your baby died so she could get her happy ending? Oh, hell no. I would intentionally wreck their wedding for that stuff alone. I have to be honest. I would probably show up in a wedding gown. Now for the next story. Am I the a-hole for kicking my sister when she was down? My sister is going through a divorce right now and she's devastated. for more reasons than one. When she got married, both she and her husband had kids from past relationships. He had 2 boys who were preteens at the time. She had my niece who was 4 and my nephew who was 18 months old. Back when they first got engaged, members of the family warned her she should maybe slow down. Her husband's boys were not at all happy or welcoming of the growing family, and they showed no love or like for my sister nor her kids. My sister said we were wrong, and the boys would be great older brothers and bonus sons. She was certain things would be perfect and they would be a real family in no time. 5 years later, and the world has crashed around them. She and her husband are divorcing, and while he wants to stay in her kids' lives as a dad, his boys want nothing to do with her or them. And there has been no communication with them in the 5 months since this thing started. All my sister can focus on is her feelings. How it's breaking her heart, how she misses the boys, how she doesn't know why they don't want her, etc. Nothing about her kids were devastated that the boys they called brothers, were encouraged to love and consider real brothers, never gave a crap about them, and won't even say hi if they pass each other by on the street. And I know from my nephew that it's happened more than once. It annoys me because my sister cries to all of us and never talks about the effects it's had on her kids. The other day we were all at dinner and she was crying about it again. My niece and nephew were upset too, but she only focused on herself again. So, when my sister-in-law brought them into another room to cheer them up with some Switch games, I told my sister she needed to stop thinking about herself and start thinking about the 2 kids whose worlds were turned upside down. That she had been warned by us before, and while she could be sad, she needed to look at how much worse is it for her kids who never remembered life without their big brothers, and now they have to face they were never their brothers, and that the love was one-sided for the last 5 years. She told me I was way too harsh on her, and part of me wonders if she's right. Am I the a-hole? Not the a-hole. Someone had to stick up for the kids while she's busy wallowing in self-pity. In front of them, I don't think parents should shield their kids from everything, even slightly bad, or deny themselves emotion if kids are watching. But really, her son is what, 6? Give the poor kid some security by maybe not sobbing all your divorce woes in front of him all the time. Not the a-hole. It sounds as if this info was exactly what was needed saying, even if sister felt it was too harsh. Sister and kids need counseling, and I hope they get it. This is the kind of situation that's above the pay grade of family members, and a professional is indicated. It's the type of situation above the pay grade of even some professionals. I hope they get the best of the best. Not the a-hole. Sometimes the truth hurts. Divorce is hard, but she also has small children to think about. She should try to get herself and the little ones into therapy to help get through this. That was suggested to her before, and she ignored it. Super frustrating. Next story is titled, Am I the a-hole for not including my brother's wife with my friend group? To cut a long story short, my brother married a woman I knew from school. She was known as the mean girl, treated everyone like crap. Her mom had the same reputation, and everyone said it was learned behavior that started because their family was wealthy. She made junior and senior year of high school a nightmare for me and most of my friends with her attitude, and not helped by teachers letting her get away with it. I didn't see her for years, and my brother met her in a coffee shop. They hit it off, and it was a surprise when she turned out to be his girlfriend. It was also awkward. I don't like her. She's changed some, but she still has a streak of it in her, but better than she was back then. They got married last year, and it hit my brother that she has no friends of her own. She had her family there, her mom who was still the biggest a-hole ever, but no friends. And so he asked me if I would include her with my friends. He knows I have a solid group of friends, and was hoping they would be her friends too. But none of my friends are on board, and honestly neither am I. So I told him no. There was a fallout from this. My brother is pissed, and we haven't had a great relationship in months. He thinks it's cruel to not try when I know she has no friends, and it's childish to dislike her over the past, and that my friends are a group of a-holes for not being willing to try. I told him not everyone wants to be friends with a mean girl who made life hell at any point in their life. That sometimes being civil is the best you can muster, and that I have always been that. It's breaking our parents' hearts because he's insisting we can't be close again unless I make more of an effort. Am I the a-hole? Now for the comments. Not the a-hole. Homie, your brother sounds like he's being her dad. Setting up friendship with a sibling's friend group after marriage? Weird. Why not his friends? My wife can't make friends. Let's not explore why not. Why can't you be her friend? Is an absolute bizarre hill to die on for Opie's brother. It's telling he is not organizing couples outings with people he knows. If he cannot get his own friends to hang out with his wife, he can't expect his sister to force her group to welcome their high school nemesis. With a literal stranger, his wife would start the friendship in zero. With this group, it starts in negative 10,000. But with this group, he can try to make it his sister's problem instead of his. What a nahal. Not nahal. There is a reason she has no friends. Your brother married a school bully and wonders why no one wants her around. She's your sister-in-law now, and you'll have to include her in family events. But with your friends? No. Has your brother told his wife to try? To apologize? Why is it the tormented ones are supposed to try harder than the tormentor? There is a reason she has no friends. Your brother is being weird by asking this of you, and refusing to accept your no. Who cares if he stays distant? This way you see less of her. And maybe she'll learn something from this. Not today, Hall. She's probably making his life miserable, pushing to be included. And once she is, she'll make Opie miserable and alienate her friends. Not Dayhole. She can find her own friends. Not Dayhole. There is a reason she doesn't have friends. She must not have changed that much after all. She is a grown woman. She can make her own friends, providing she can rein in her meanness enough. Your brother has zero right to ask you that, and zero reason to be upset because you don't want to. There is definitely something wrong with her if she cannot make friends after high school. Last story. Am I the a-hole for refusing to pay my half of our cancelled wedding? My ex-fiancé and I came from a very different cultural backgrounds, and our families live on entirely different continents. I explicitly told him before we even got engaged that I always wanted a small, low-key wedding. I know that his culture have huge, lavish weddings, and he told me that this is what he wants. So when we got engaged, we had a long conversation which resulted in the compromise that we would have a big wedding in his home country, but drop some of the other aspects of his culture that I wasn't so comfortable with, or did not mesh well with my own culture. Regarding living situation and raising children. For future children, we did not have any children. This was not a huge amount of customs. In fact, we just arranged to drop one and alter two. So they streamlined better with my own culture, and we were both as happy as possible with this outcome. We began making bookings, reservations, and paying deposits for our wedding. This was all out of his bank account. This is because we did not have citizenship in each other's countries, so it was far less complicated for everything to be paid from an account of the same country. The intention was that, after we married, it would be much easier to get citizenship, and once citizenship was approved, we would merge our finances. And at this point, it would not matter who had paid for the wedding, since all our money would be together. 3 weeks before we were married, his mother and aunts got wind of one of the costumes we had arranged to alter, and lost it. Through conversations, they then found out about the other two, and eventually they threatened to disown him for being a bad son. They said it was cutting him off from his family, and that if that was what he wanted, they would make it easier for him. He begged me to change my mind, but I was firm, saying this is what we decided together. I wasn't going to drop our agreements because his family don't like it, when there are plenty of aspects my own family are uncomfortable with. Relationships are about compromise and communication, and ultimately the first priority are the two people in their relationship, not their family. He told me if I wouldn't budge, then the wedding was off. I said I had made my compromise. I still wanted to marry him under our original conditions when we had spent a long time negotiating, and originally felt were fair. Then he said that he had changed his mind and did not want to marry me. After a few weeks, he contacted me, asking me to pay him back for half the money he was unable to get back from the deposits we paid. Since it was so close to the planned date that we cancelled, and it was not a small amount of money. However, since he was the one who called off the wedding, and even at this point I would still marry him if he were to honor our original agreement, I don't think I am obliged to pay. I told him this, and he is very unhappy, since he now believes it is my fault that he cancelled for being unwilling to be flexible. Not Dayhall. I'm so sorry. You must be heartbroken. I know it probably doesn't feel like it now, but you dodged several bullets. His backing out of this wedding now due to family pressure. This shows you that he was always going to take his family's side in arguments, and best you find out now. Sounds like he would have been one of those spouses who are extremely enmeshed in their parents' clothes, and you would have had mother-in-law and sister-in-law interference all the time. He has shown that he's happy to make agreements with you and compromises, and then doesn't respect them. For example, he has zero regard for the agreements you had and the compromises you both made regarding the wedding. He's also now ignoring the agreements about the costs. As for future kids, that agreement you made was never going to be respected either. I'm so sorry you've had to call off your wedding so close to the date. But much easier and better to discover how spineless and dishonest he is now, rather than having to go through a divorce and costly arguments later on. Not the a-hole. Also, tell him that his family was the one to essentially cancel the wedding, so they can reimburse him. Not the a-hole. 100% this. I hope you should tell him to send the bill to the aunties who had a fit. Not the a-hole. He didn't cancel the wedding. He did. He cancelled it after he decided to go against the agreement the two of you made. Since his family was in such an uproar that they threatened to disown him, tell him to get his money back from them. They can consider it the cost of getting their precious son back. Just want to add in regard to the agreement. If Opie were to be accused by him and his family of not having any honor, she could refute that he didn't honor his own promise towards her to begin with, and it was therefore him who dishonored her, not the other way around. Not the a-hole. You dodged a bullet there. Under no circumstances you pay him a thing. He called the wedding off? He pays. Not to mention the cost of the wedding was much higher because of the things he wasn't willing to compromise on. Sounds like the unfortunately common person who thinks compromise means do what I want. Am I the a-hole for letting my stepson, his girlfriend, and baby become homeless? My female 46 two stepsons, Eric 27 and Michael 30, live with me and their dad. But our relationship was superficial, since they kept reminding me that their mom was present in their lives and I was the outsider. They then moved away for college and rarely visited. My husband got sick with cancer and struggled for 2 years. Months before he passed away, I discovered that both Michael and Eric were slowly withdrawing money from our bank account. I didn't know they had access to it, but later found out they had access through my husband's financial information. I was livid, because I needed the money for treatment and other expenses since I stopped working. I had a fight with both of them after they admitted they were moving money out of my husband's account before he died, so I won't get anything since the money was theirs. I threatened to sue, but Eric told me to buzz off because it's their money. I changed the old account immediately and moved what's left of that money to a new account. But the week my husband passed away, everything in the house was taken. I'm not exaggerating. They moved everything out and sold it. My husband didn't leave a will, and I was left with just our house since my name on the lease. I haven't seen Eric or Michael for 2 years. Till a few days ago in the morning I heard noise from the outside. I opened the door and saw Eric with his car stuffed with his bags and a young lady in the passenger seat and a baby in the back. I was surprised they asked why he was here and what he was doing. And he said, I'm moving back in my father's house with my girlfriend and my son. I was stunned, and seeing him unloading his trunk set me off. I shouted, this is my house now, and he's not allowed to set a foot in it after everything he and his brother did. He attempted to argue that he lost his job and was evicted and had nowhere to go. He also said he and his girlfriend would have lived in their car, but there is a baby that needs a home, and there's his grandfather's house. Plus, everything that happened was planned by Michael, not him. I said they took enough already and I owe them nothing, but he ignored me and kept getting his stuff out of the car. Then he tried to get inside, insisting this was his father's house. That's when I showed him my phone and yelled that I will call the cops on him for trespassing my property. He was shocked by what I said and started begging me to let them stay just for the baby who's now my grandson. But I said no and told him to get in his car and leave. But he stalled and kept complaining about becoming homeless when his father's house is available. His girlfriend involved herself, crying about potentially having their baby taken away from them for not finding proper living arrangements.
I said this wasn't my problem, and Eric kept begging, then said I was being cruel and did fair by taking my anger out on an innocent baby with no home to live in. He left but had his dad's side of the family shaming me for letting Eric go homeless and demanding I let him come to his father's house, but I refused. To answer additional questions, 1. Yes, my name is Annalise and now it's officially my house. 2. My in-laws live hours away, and the reason they said they won't take Eric in is that they don't have to when his father's house is available. So they're behind Eric encouraging him to take back what's his. 3. I don't know anything about their mother, but she's certainly not dead, otherwise I would have found out. Now for the top comments. He left but has his dad's side of the family shaming me for letting Eric go homeless. Those family members could have given him a home as well, but they didn't. You're not the a-hole. Not the a-hole. This guy is a criminal who already robbed you blind. Why on earth would you let him back in your life? Much less your house. Honestly, find some family members you actually trust to come stay with you for a while, because this snake is not going to slink away that easily. Not the a-hole. They have already taken enough from you. If his dad's side of the family is so concerned, they can take him in. Protect yourself. Get the best locks you can afford installed. Make sure your windows are secure. Get Ring cameras for any entrance into your home. Install the app in your phone. They will record if anyone is prowling around. Take any proof of ownership that the house is legally yours, plus a few utility bills as proof you live there. Important papers like passport, birth certificate, social security card, pictures, and give them to a trusted friend. Pack a go bag with a couple of changes of clothes, some cash and an extra set of car/house keys, and keep it near the door. Call the police non-emergency line and give them a heads up. Names, descriptions, description of the car. If you have any proof of the family's harassment, show them. Ask if they can do extra patrols of your neighborhood. Alert your neighbors so that they'll call the police if they see any strangers in your street, strange cars, and frequent drive-bys. Tell them that you are not moving out and no one is moving in. If they see anyone loading or unloading their car into your home, they should call 911. It all sounds scary, but you are preparing for the worst possible scenario. You are now a freaking safety Boy Scout. You are prepared. Then live your best life. If things go down, don't panic. You have a plan. Grab your bag and go. Next story. Am I the a-hole for asking my spouse to forgive my mom and my sister? Plus update. I have been married to my wife for 8 years. The very first day my family met her, my mom turned her back on her and ignored her, and my sister came out asking if she was ever going to see the triplets again. My ex-girlfriend had kids from a previous relationship. I was so damn pissed and embarrassed, but my significant other handled it like a champ and acted like nothing. When we got home, she cried and was really disappointed. She had been looking forward to meeting everyone. I texted both my mom and sister, and chastised them both for their rude behavior, and my mom's reason was because she really liked my ex and her kids. Same for my sister. I took my significant other to my mom's for Thanksgiving and Christmas, and my mom and sister were still standoffish. After we left, my significant other said she didn't want to go over anymore, and I promised her she wouldn't. I asked her to marry me a few months after, and we didn't invite any of my family to our ceremony. Not her choice. She said I was more than welcome to, but I didn't think my family deserved to be there. Then my mom found out and reached out and asked if we would like to have dinner. My significant other encouraged me to go, but she had no desire to. I went, and it ended up being a party at an Italian restaurant with all of my family. They were all asking for my wife, and it was so damn uncomfortable having to make an excuse. But I understood. My wife has stayed away but does help me buy gifts for everyone's birthdays and holidays and goes with me to visit my grandparents. Now, my sister's daughter was diagnosed with cancer this month. My wife has been incredibly helpful and has assisted in any way possible, and I was hoping this would lead to everyone forgetting the past. I asked my wife if she'd consider coming around to my mom's, and she refused. I told her I didn't understand why, that all this drama was 8 years ago and she was doing all this nice stuff for them right now. She said helping out is the right thing to do, but that it doesn't mean she has to be friends with them. I did raise my voice and told her that being stubborn helps no one, and she called me an a-hole for not understanding. So am I? Edit. Changed some details for privacy. Now for the top comments before the little update. You're the a-hole. Your wife is a saint for helping out and being kind when the situation obviously calls for it, but she doesn't have to forgive people who treated her like trash for years and years, and it's extremely unsupportive of you to keep asking her to. You are the biggest a-hole. Did your mother or sister ever bothered apologizing to your wife? Sounds like they continued their awful behavior toward her even after you called them out on it. I was wondering the same thing. I seen a mention of my mom and sister apologized and seemed sincere. They also try to reach out and include my wife. But I have sent messages /cards/gifts to her to re-apologize, but my wife still says no. Seems like mom and sister only told OP yeah, sure, we're sorry about that. Let her know we are sorry. That isn't an apology to OP's wife. Yes, you are an a-hole. You promised her she didn't have to go back. So why are you trying to make her now? Man, all of y'all are really making me see things differently. I admit now I'm being selfish. With my niece being sick and my wife helping out, I thought maybe we could all just get along. I see now I messed up. Now for the little update. Thank you all for opening my eyes. I've never felt so attacked, but I'm grateful for it all. I have totally changed my way of thinking. My wife is amazing. And the last thing I want is to take her around people who don't have her best interests at heart. Unfortunately, it took advice from strangers for me to see. Nonetheless, I am thankful. I can't reply to everyone. I have a lot of making up to do. My wife has read so many comments and would like you all to know she's very thankful to see so much support. She says she's always felt guilty about staying away, but feels better about her decision now. At the end of the day, my wife deserves peace, and I will not force her to do anything she doesn't like. She's pretty gleeful right now. Lol. Thank you all. Next story is titled, Am I the a-hole for telling my son the truth about his mom? Their mom, 44 female and I, 44 male, broke up 9 years ago because I caught her cheating with my friend in our own home with our 4-month-old son, sleeping in the next room. The breakup was hard, especially for the kids, but as parents we did everything possible so that they can be happy. And we decided that we would never tell them the reason we broke up until they are adults. For them, we only broke up because it was the best. We always told them that we functioned better separately, and that way we could all be happy. But I got tired. I met someone a few years after our breakup, and now we are married and have a 21-month-old girl, and she's pregnant with our second. But my 2 oldest kids, 19 male, 18 male, refuse to meet their sister. They don't even speak to my wife, 27 female, and never wanted to tell me why. They just hate her. And at first, when we started dating, it was kind of understandable. My wife is younger, and she was the first person I dated after breaking up with her mother. So I decided to give them a few months so they could adjust to the new situation. But those months turned into years, and they never really tried to get to know my wife. And she always said that she was okay with that, so I decided to let it go. But their attitude just got worse. And when our daughter was born, they didn't want to meet her. And I'm not gonna lie, that pissed me off because they were treating her like a stranger, just because they don't like her mom. So for a while I stopped texting them since I was always the one who contacted them. And I had no interest in contacting them again. But the other day my wife was crying, and I asked her what was going on. And she showed me some texts they sent her. She tried to contact them a few weeks ago so we could fix our relationship, and they just insulted her. They called her a cheap woman and told her that they will never meet that bastard, our daughter, because they hate our daughter as much as they hate my wife. I read the whole thing and was so mad that I called one of them, and we had a fight over those texts. I decided that he hates my wife because his mom told him I cheated on her with my wife, which is a lie because I didn't even know her at the time. So I got mad and told him that he was wrong, and that the cheater was his mother, and that if he didn't believe me, that I could show them the papers that I still have from the paternity test that we had to do, because she didn't even know who was the real father of our 9-year-old son, because she cheated for years. He was speechless and just hung up the call. And now I feel like maybe I went too far because I shouldn't have told him that. But I was mad because I love my daughter and my wife, and I don't want anyone to hurt them. She's the sweetest and kindest person I ever met in my life, and seeing her sad or crying breaks my heart, and that's why I reacted that way. Am I the a-hole for telling him that? Oh, hell no. Not the a-hole 1,000 times over. Your ex crossed a line that should never be crossed, and only to screw you over for no other reason than out of pure spite and or jealousy. You did the right thing to combat lies with the truth. Eventually the truth will win out, but it'll take time. Yeah, lying about the innocent party cheating completely nullifies the proverbial non-disclosure agreement about the guilty parties cheating. Talk about literally asking for it. Not the a-hole. This is why no plan should include keeping secrets from kids. They don't work. You and your wife have suffered their unjust wrath long enough. Time for their mom to have her fair share. Not today, home. You were just setting the story straight. Your ex, on the other hand, major a-hole for lying to them to make you look bad and ruining your relationship with your kids. Agreed. X is the a-hole here. Opie's ex lied to his children to make him look bad. His sons are adults now, and they deserve to be told the truth. Justified. Your ex-wife lied to your children, and it had serious negative consequences for your new family, so they needed to know the truth. Passing on the information in a calmer way would have been better, of course. Still not the a-hole. Last story. Am I the a-hole for wanting my wife's son to leave the house after he turns 18? My wife and I have been married for 5 years, and she has a 17-year-old son from a previous relationship. The father left her and her son about a decade ago, and has not been present in their lives ever since. I know it was a traumatic experience for both of them, and they have a very tight bond as a result. My wife is on permanent disability and doesn't work, so I am the sole breadwinner in the household. I've always tried to be a very present figure in my stepson's life, but I also understand that I am not his father. For the past 3 years or so, her son has been having a lot of behavioral issues. When it started, my wife and I thought it was typical teenager acting out type stuff. But when his behavior continued over the course of months and into a year, we knew we had to take more action. We attended family therapy, got him individual therapy and counseling, worked with his school counselor, tried getting him involved in extracurricular activities, etc. We put a lot of time, effort, and money into as many ideas as we could think of, hoping that something would click. But nothing has worked. His grades in school are near failing, and he is at risk of not graduating next year. He will refuse to leave his room for days at a time. He has zero respect for me as a person, let alone a parent figure. He fights us on attending therapy and counseling sessions, and will not participate when we get him there. I am at my wit's end, and I am also starting to feel the hurts financially because my insurance doesn't cover all of the therapy and counseling. My wife's disability checks take some of the edge off, but I'm hemorrhaging money at this point and failing behind on bills. My stepson turns 18 in a couple months, and I am at a point where I want to stop paying for his therapy and counseling. I am also at a point where I no longer want him in my house at the end of next school year. After a recent outburst from him, I broke down to my wife and told her all of this. She wasn't aware of the financial problems because I don't want her to feel that her son is a burden on us. But as hard as it is to say it, he kind of is. Out of anger and frustration, I told my wife my feelings about wanting him to leave our house, and she flipped out on me. She accused me of giving up on him and basically being okay with him becoming homeless. She said she would never forgive me if I abandoned him like his father did, and that I was an a-hole for even thinking something like that, let alone telling her. It's been a huge rift between us since then, and it's put a huge damper on the holidays. A part of me wants to get this all out in the open since I think my stepson deserves to know what kind of strain this is putting on all of us. But my wife insists on being protective of him. I feel like no matter what, I am going to be the bad guy, but I also feel like I have done all that I can do. Am I the a-hole for wanting to quit supporting my stepson? Not the a-hole. You are doing everything you can to help your stepson. Unfortunately, you cannot help someone who doesn't want to be helped. While he is a minor and you have the authority to do so, have you considered inpatient help? I would suggest being honest with him. His behavior is unacceptable, and he either changes or leaves. You will pay for his therapy as long as he tries to help himself get better. This may cost you your marriage, but if you do not draw this line, you will be having the same conversation in 10 years. While he is a minor and you have the authority to do so, have you considered inpatient help? My wife outright refuses to even consider this. His therapist recommended it a little over a year ago, but my wife wouldn't even think of it. She then forced us to find a new therapist. That is denial, and all it's doing is enabling him. The shame of it is, he probably feels the most lost in all of this. Am I the a-hole for telling my wife the lock on my daughter's door does not get removed till my brother-in-law and his daughters are out of my house? My brother-in-law Sammy lost his home shortly after his divorce 10 months ago.
He moved in with us and brought his twin daughters, Olivia and Sloane, both 18, with him a couple of months ago. His sister, my wife, and I have one daughter, Zoe, 16, and she and her cousins aren't close but get along fine. Now, Olivia and Sloane have no respect for Zoe's privacy. None. They used to walk into her room and take everything they get their hands on. Makeup, phone accessories, clothes, school laptop, etc. Zoe complained a lot, and I've already asked the girls to respect Zoe's privacy and stop taking things. My wife and Sammy saw no issue with this. After all, they're girls, and this is typical teenage girls' behavior. But I completely disagreed. Last straw was when Zoe bought a $60 MAC makeup kit that looks like a paint set. That she saved up for over a month. And one of the girls, Sloane, took it without permission and ruined it by mixing shades together while using it. Don't know much about makeup, but that's what Zoe said when she found a kit on her bed and was crying. I told my wife, and she said she'd ask Sloane to apologize, but I got Zoe a lock after I found she was moving valuable belongings out the house because of this incident. Sammy and his daughters saw the lock and weren't happy, and the girls were extremely upset. Sammy asked about it, and I straight up told him, but he said, my daughters aren't thieves. It's normal that girls of the same age borrow each other's stuff. Then he said Zoe could easily get another makeup kit for $15 from Walmart and shouldn't even be buying expensive adult makeup in the first place, and suggested my wife take care of this defect in Zoe's personality trying to appear older than she is. Then he accused me of being overprotective and babying Zoe with this level of enablement. I told him this is between me and my wife, but she shamed me for putting a lock on Zoe's door for her cousins to see and preventing them from spending time with her, saying I was supposed to treat them like daughters. Then she demanded I remove it, but I said this lock does not get removed till her brother and his daughters are out of our house. She got mad I was implying we kick them out and said her family will hate me for this. So I reminded her that I let Sammy's family move in, which is something her own family refused to do. So she should start with shaming/blaming them for not taking their own son and nieces/granddaughters in. If it wasn't for her family's unwillingness to help, we wouldn't be dealing with this much disturbance at home. Now everyone's been giving me and Zoe silent treatment, and my wife is very much upset over this. Now for the top comments. Not a haul. Don't back down. You are the only one sticking up for Zoe. If her cousins want to use expensive makeup, give them your wife's. I guarantee she won't appreciate sharing anymore. They need to start behaving like appreciative guests. I love this idea. Not today, LOP. You have your daughter's back and totally get her need for privacy and autonomy over her stuff. I'm disgusted that her own mother isn't more supportive. Please lend some wife's makeup to the twins, because obviously it's what girls do, isn't it? They love to borrow and use each other's stuff, without asking. Not. Bonus if Opie goes into Sammy's room to borrow things without asking. Underwear, an expensive watch or something, returning it with visible wear and tear. Not a-hole. Your wife harbors someone who tells you that Zoe has a defect in her personality for buying an expensive makeup kit? That's the kind of thing that has people thinking about divorce. Exactly. As a mother myself, I cannot fathom how any mother would let someone treat their child like that, even if it's his family. That would have bought them a one-way ticket out of my front door. If your kid can't count on you to protect them, who can they count on? Not a-hole. Not a-hole. Your daughter doesn't feel like she has any privacy or respect in her own home, and you gave her a lock to give her back her privacy. You tried talking to your wife, your brother-in-law, and your nieces, and that got you nowhere. If your daughter has to accept 3 additional adults living in her home, they need to accept her very reasonable boundaries with not taking and ruining her things. Good for you showing your daughter you respect and support her. They are 18. This is 100% vindictive. Mixing and destroying a new palette and leaving it on Zoe's bed screams of malice. Now for the next story. Am I the a-hole for abandoning my roommate because her mother ate my lunch? My 23 male roommate's 22 female, mother 42 female, has been heavily overstepping and consuming all the food that I cook for my meals when I'm going to work. For context, her mother is also technically a roommate as we split the rent 3 ways, with me paying half and her daughter paying a quarter each. To get her mother to agree to pay half of her rent, my roommate, a longtime friend from college, begged me to let her mother on the lease, as this was the only way she'd agree because she wouldn't pay for something that wasn't hers. And so now her mother comes and goes as she pleases. The problem arises because I cook and I'm fairly good at it. I'd have to because my workplace is isolated and there are no restaurants nearby that I could make it to on my hour for lunch. I wake up at 6 a.m. to make sure that my meals are ready, because I'm a picky eater and the things I like are fairly complicated. Now, roommate's mom has been serving herself for my meals. It started small, and I was okay with that because I sometimes have leftovers. However, certain dishes do not permit that, and now she has taken to eating out of my packed lunches when there's no leftovers, saying, "Sorry, I was just so pickish." Or, "You know how I love your cooking? I couldn't help myself." After the second week of no lunches, I had enough and decided I would leave and pay off my part of the lease. I'm furious, but I do love my roommates as she's like a sister to me. She has recently found out that I'm looking for a new apartment, but thinks my reason is too petty. She said it's just food and I shouldn't abandon her over it. I have been having second thoughts about leaving now because I don't want to hurt her, but her mother is still doing it after having myself and her daughter confront her. Would I be wrong for leaving? Definitely not, Day-Hole. A grown woman can't help herself and so she has to eat your packed lunches? Good grief. How bad is her impulse control? More likely, she respects you so little. It is so selfish she just doesn't give a damn if you're hungry or not. She feels entitled to the food. If your roommate can't even recognize how rude that is and stop her mom, then honestly, she deserves to be abandoned. Though if she's a real friend, she'll understand and continue to socialize with you after you're out. My money's on she's not a real friend though. I'm hoping my roommate will remain my friend and understand, but the comments here are really solidifying my decision. Her mother doesn't even get mad when I confront her. She just laughs it off and does it again. I'm really just tired at this point, but I will miss my roomie if our relationship suffers because of this. Not Day-Hole. You aren't looking to kick them out. You're looking for your own place where you no longer have to worry about people crossing your boundaries. Her mom knows exactly what she's doing when she has eaten the lunch you have prepared for yourself the next day. Her daughter may not understand and thinks it's a selfish reason, but it's a valid reason. What starts out as food will turn into something else. She's eating all your food and borrowing/taking all your things, and you'll be petty for being upset over it. This has also been a worry of mine. It started with the leftovers, but has escalated to my packed lunches. I don't believe her mother would ever steal from me, but I worry she may start feeling entitled to my food and start pressuring me to cook for her as well. She can't see how this is wrong and boundary stomping? It is enough reason to leave her. She has no concept of how to treat other people. She herself is a very good friend to me and has never done anything like this. Her mother is also a very sweet lady most of the time. Except for this, it really was a perfect living situation. Which is why I think it's so hard for me to make this decision myself. Next story. Am I the a-hole for getting off the lease and leaving my roommate to fend for herself? Okay, I know the title seems bad, but hear me out. My friend female 19 and I female 19 decided to move in together this May. We've known each other for more than a decade, and I consider her one of my best friends. We always talked about living together, and 2 months ago we got an opportunity and made it into reality. We signed a 1-year lease on a 2-bedroom apartment not too far from our college and jobs. Well, yesterday she comes into my room and says she wants to talk to me about something. She reveals the actual reason for her moving out of her parents' house was because she's pregnant. Her dad is the type of guy that thinks if you're grown enough to have relations, then you're grown enough to live on your own. Not under his roof type of guy. Anyways, I had a load of questions. And eventually she revealed that she was almost 5 months along, and her boyfriend was moving in, and I was livid. She said it would be good for us because the rent will be cheaper, which is true, but that's not why I was mad. I realized she knew before signing the lease and didn't think to mention she was pregnant and moving someone else in. I'm sorry, but I did not sign up to be living in an apartment with some man and a baby. The main reason I moved out of my own home was because I'm the oldest of 4 younger siblings. There was too much going on at home, and I thought moving out I would finally have my peace. After we talked, we both went to our own rooms. And after a couple hours, I called to talk to her again, and made up my mind that I do not want to live here anymore because of the obvious circumstance. She got mad as expected,
But most of all, because she doesn't have much savings and was planning to rely on my share of the rent to stay afloat while she's on leave. I've already talked to the landlord about paying to break myself from the lease. I'm sorry, but I did not sign up for this. She claims there was no contract for not getting pregnant, but there is a contract in place for us, the lease. But I feel like that's common sense when you're living with someone. I feel like an awful friend, because I'm not being supportive, but this isn't what I agreed to. I can see why she would be upset with me because of my sudden decision to move with 1 month notice. Especially since she doesn't have much savings and is expecting a baby soon. On the other hand, she should have been honest with her intentions of starting a family because I would have said no to moving in. Am I the a-hole? Now for the comments. Not the a-hole. She didn't tell you before for a reason. She knew you wouldn't agree to it, and now wants to guilt trip you into staying? Not the a-hole. Also, if you were so good friends to move in together, why did she not talk to you about being pregnant and then later ranting about her dad kicking her out? Also, the boyfriend moving in without landlord approval, which sounds like she never was going to do, may get you all evicted since the lease is only for 2 people. Not the a-hole. She was sneaky. Did not disclose her motives or situation. You were not obligated in any way. Right. I'm sure she was counting on OP for rent money and help with the baby. All without asking. The entitlement. Not the a-hole. I wouldn't want to live with a newborn either, and she was being deceptive. Boyfriend can make up the rent difference, especially as he'll be living there anyways. Unless he's jobless. Last story. Am I the a-hole for packing my roommate's things and leaving them in the hall while she was at work? So my best friend has been living with me for months since her parents threw her out. At first things were fine, but slowly started to change. She has mental illnesses, which I appreciate and understand, but she went off her medication, stating she could not afford the co-pays, which didn't make sense to me as she could afford to eat out nearly every night. Eventually, going off the meds turned her into a different person. She would drop her insulin needles on the floor, and no matter how many times I reminded her not to as I have a cat, she just said she either didn't notice or forgot because she's spacey. I'm not checking for dust with a white glove, but this is my home, and the place was constantly trashed. She never did her own dishes, left trash everywhere, and have eaten food in the fridge for weeks. It got so bad, I either had to clean up her messes or deal with roaches. There would be many days that she would be in an awful mood, and I could do no right. If I gave her space, I was ignoring her and hated her. If I tried to talk to her, I was nagging and pestering. Eventually, I got fed up. I had tried over and over to have a conversation with her and ask for just minor changes. Get back on your meds, stop taking out your bad moods on me, and for the love of God, just clean up. We have roaches. Her paranoia had gotten so bad that she accused me of being her online boyfriend and catfishing her for over 8 months. Finally, one night, when she was in a particularly bad mood, she crossed a line regarding my cat. I simply could not take it anymore. She worked 12 to 7, and last week when she left, I called a friend. We packed everything she owned as nicely as we could and stacked it all in the hallway. I then blocked her on everything, locked my door and waited. She got home, saw her things, and threw a fit. She was banging on the door for over 3 hours. I did not leave or even respond as I didn't think there was anything to say. Eventually, she called her parents and went back there. At the time, it seemed like the best, cleanest, and safest way to do this, but some of my other friends think I was too harsh, and I should have given her more time or another ultimatum. I hate hurting people and feel awful, but I was ready to check myself into the psych ward, and I couldn't handle that line ever being crossed again. So Reddit, am I the a-hole? Edit. There seem to be 2 questions popping up. One is what I did was perfectly lawful where I live as she was not on my lease, had ever received mail and did not pay rent, so therefore was not considered a legal resident. If anything, I could have gotten in trouble for having her there. 2 is I did give her an ultimatum of a month, where she needed to have made a visible effort in getting better, and not only did that not happen and no change was even attempted, but she also crossed that line with my cat. She was aware this was a possibility as I did not do this with 0 warning. Not the a-hole. This was not a knee-jerk reaction. You gave her plenty of warnings, ultimatums, and leeway. This was a last resort after you tried everything else, You do not need to feel any guilt for looking out for yourself. Not Daehol. I bet the friends are saying that because she might come knocking at one of their doors next. And they don't want to take her in either. The nuance is that they know she's back with her parents. So these friends aren't even worried about that. They're expecting Opie to bend over backwards just so they don't have to deal with the drama of Opie's best friend complaining. It's the easiest thing in the world to be generous in somebody else's dime and labor. Depending on where you live, what you did might be an unlawful eviction. You did say she had been there for months. However, legalities aside, you did the best thing for you. And for your cat. Not Daehol. I looked into the laws where I lived beforehand. She was not on my lease, had never received mail here and therefore was not technically a tenant. If anything, I could have gotten in trouble as my lease states one person living here. Where we live states that simply putting any amount of floor space aside for someone's personal belongings constitutes a right to tenancy. It is nuts. My BFF went through hell recently with her husband's cousin, and this was a concern. She is the salt of the earth. She and hubby had a cousin come out to work in their business. We're going to pay for his commercial road license, and we're not asking for rent, knowing what that would mean. The cousin blew the opportunity, and I think it was on heroin. Anyhow, they had to give him the boot, and she was terrified he was going to try to stay based on the fact that he had a spot in the office for his gear. It pays to know the laws. Not Daehol. You tried to do something nice for your friend and got burned for it. You gave her plenty of warnings, and she decided to ignore them. That is on her. Plus, it sounds like she was a danger to your cat. The friends who say you were too harsh should be able to offer her a room in their homes or pay for some nights in a hotel. Should be easy to do from up on their high horses. Am I the a-hole for lashing out at my husband for suggesting I stop buying formula instead of canceling his streaming services to save money? I'm female 32, the breadwinner, and have a toddler and a 9-month-old baby. Their needs are never ending, and everything I buy is expensive. My husband, male 37, is unemployed, but uses part of my salary for subscription/paid streaming services, which cost about $80+ a month for Hulu, Premium, Netflix, HBO, Amazon, ESPN Plus, and more. I keep finding myself coming up short with money. I kept neglecting buying hygiene products and have only one pair of shoes that look decent. I can't remember the last time I bought anything nice for myself. And keep feeling guilty just thinking of going shopping for stuff that is necessary. I sat him down for discussion and told him his subscriptions are taking money. I can't keep paying for them when I have other responsibilities. I asked him to choose one channel and he threw a fit, calling me ridiculous to think streaming services are the reason I'm always short on money, and blamed it on the expensive and unnecessary makeup. He calls it fake-up. I keep wasting money on. I got angry and said he needed to respect that makeup is part of my personality and won't quit buying and wearing it. He said that I was trying to financially control him since I got offended when he pointed out that I waste money in makeup, and explained that he cannot and will not be bought with money no matter how desperate he is. I said okay, then let me cancel all streaming services and keep one till I can pay for them once he finds a job. But he refused, and said since he is the stay-at-home parent, then those streaming services are a right and not a privilege, and I should keep paying for them without complaining since he's staying with our sons all day, and it's taxing just like my job. Final straw was when he suggested I stop buying formula and go back to breastfeeding since that is unnecessary and expensive. I was floored and was seething and lashed out at him, asking him if he literally thought canceling formula is better than his precious subscriptions. Also, I work. I have no time to breastfeed. He just said he doesn't know what it is anymore and that I was pushing him, but I told him he no longer has a choice, and I'll just stop paying for all his channels/subscriptions altogether, which had him reply that I was being unfair and unappreciative of his efforts. He stormed off after calling me controlling and kept cold-shouldering me. Am I the a-hole? Edit. No, he left his previous job due to issues with his employer. He struggled with finding a job in his field and refused to work in other related fields, saying his dignity won't let him since he worked hard for his degree. My makeup gets replaced every few months. It's normally cost $50+, but that's every few months, not every month. I stopped breastfeeding for health issues and now work, but he never stopped criticizing my decision to use formula, calling it a waste of money when I could push past the pain and provide our son with real benefits. I still do the majority of work around the apartment. What efforts? He's contributing nothing financially. You are not a a-hole, and you can spend your hard-earned dollars however you like. I'm not sure since I still do the cooking/cleaning/washing after I get home, but he says that's my part of chores, so I shouldn't complain. Sounds like he's not even a stay-at-home parent then, just an over-glorified babysitter for the kids. As a former live-in babysitter, I did all the day cleaning, taking care of a baby, a toddler and a preteen, cleaned up after 2 puppies, 5 days a week, until either my brother-in-law, older half-sister, got home, and my cousin or her mom picked up my nephew-cousin. This is an insult to babysitters. Was a live-in nanny too. Did all of that and had loads of free time because I approached it like a job, not like something that was getting in the way of my streaming. Opie's husband is a mooch. Opie needs to go on a chore strike and stop paying for all but one of his subscriptions. Hell, only paying $100 for 3 years of VPN would get him a lot of that stuff for free if he knew what services to use. Chore strike? Most people like this never change. At most, they might pretend to for a few days or weeks, then they're back at it. They have core character flaws, and you need to really want to change them. And even then, it's hella hard. More so when the flaws involve selfishness, entitlement, and a heaping dose of misogyny. Opie needs to quietly and quickly move her money to new accounts in her name only, assuming they have any joint ones. Cancel any joint credit cards and get her payment information removed from his streaming accounts. Then she needs to kick his sorry butt to the curb. Info, why can't he get a job again? I don't see how you're financially controlling him if it's his choice to be unemployed. Edit, not today, Hall, in case it wasn't clear. He's refusing to work any other job outside of his profession, and that is hard to find here. So I'd rather watch you struggle and make entirely unhelpful suggestions about the budget instead of getting any job to help support his family? Is his dignity more important to him than his children? He needs a lesson to humility ASAP. Next story. Am I the a-hole for going off on my sister-in-law after she insisted on taking my husband with her as her +1 to her friend's wedding? We lost my brother-in-law, 34, my brother's twin brother, 2 years ago in a serious car accident. He was a good person with a good heart, and losing him was devastating, especially on my sister-in-law, his wife. We all offered different types of help to my sister-in-law, and my husband has been the most supportive in the family by stepping up and helping out with transportation, childcare, money, food, doctor appointments, kids' matters at school, etc. My sister-in-law has been vocal about her needs lately. And I noticed she's been asking my husband to do too many things for her that she, in my opinion, can do herself, like fixing the door handle or getting the food for the dog. My in-laws noticed how she constantly keeps calling his number, yet ignore all of us and turn down any offers to help her weather the house or kids. It was irritating, not gonna lie. I told my husband that he kept saying he wants to help out his brother's family, and finds himself guilty when he ignores her phone calls, though he's very busy with our kids and work. This biggest fight was days ago when I was at my in-laws and my sister-in-law talked about receiving an invite to her friend's wedding, but was required to bring a +1. She flat out told me to tell my husband to be available on X day to go with her to the wedding as her +1. We were all shocked. I looked at her and asked if she was serious. She ranted about not finding anyone close available, and also not feeling comfortable asking her husband's friends to accompany her. I said sorry, but my husband was busy. The next thing she did was ignore me and pull her phone out to call him. I stopped her and told her very firmly and loudly that she needed to knock it off because my husband isn't hers, and she needed to just stop acting like it. She looked at me shocked and said a lot of stuff I can't remember, but accused me of not wanting her husband's brother, who's her kid's uncle, to help her out. It also accused me of discouraging him from spending time with the family and his nephews. She went on calling me petty for feeling jealous and resentment towards a struggling widow, and said she needed to go to the wedding to have fun after 2 years of being depressed and unable to go out. I argued with her, then left. My mother-in-law called saying she understood my frustration and agreed sister-in-law had no right, but I also had no right to say what I said, and basically rubbing the fact unlike her I still have my husband with me in her face. She wanted me to apologize, but I refused and explained how my sister-in-law was behaving all those months. But everyone keeps saying I should be graceful and sympathetic as my sister-in-law is trying to adapt to her new normal. My husband said I should talk to her from one woman to another. Not a home. Your husband can be sympathetic to his brother's family, but not at the expense of his own family. And honestly, he might be doing more harm than good by doing everything for her. Getting dog food? No doubt, life is hard for her. But it's been 2 years, and at some point, she'll need to figure out how to live for herself and her children. Also, no weddings require a +1. If she'll only call Opie's husband and ignores the rest of the family, then he needs to be delegating some of these chores to others. I'm side-eyeing him a bit in this too. I can get how overpowering that guilt might be. His brother is gone and left a widow and children. It's very normal if Opie's husband feels like he needs to step up at first, and the time frame just kept getting longer. It can feel like an a-hole move to prioritize your own needs when someone close to you is in such a bad predicament. I'm going to guess that your husband and his brother look alike, and so she's creating an attachment to him based on her loss. That really sucks. But you are totally within your rights to put your foot down to her demands. Plus, why is she required to have a guest at the wedding? Is that a thing? Definitely this. My ex-boyfriend had an identical twin brother. When my ex broke up with me, I was devastated, and then went on to sleep with this identical twin brother because I thought it would fix my heartbreak. It didn't, and in hindsight, I am disgusted by myself and what I did. But I definitely recognized the sister-in-law's behavior. Opie not stay home. She is using her husband as her de facto husband. The nerve of her telling you to tell your husband to be ready to accompany her to a wedding. Nah, chick, not going to happen. But I have never ever seen a wedding invite that requires you to bring a +1. It's always optional. The friend is tone deaf sending her widowed friend an invite with a +1, when they apparently know she isn't seeing anyone. Or does the whole damn world think your husband is hers now? This is not healthy. Helping is one thing, but this is something else entirely. Next time she calls your husband to fix a door handle, the appropriate response is, I'm not available. The handyman we use is John Acme. I'll text you his info. Bye. Next story. Am I the a-hole for not changing my baby's name? My husband and I are expecting our first baby and we're due in just a few weeks. When we first announced our pregnancy to our family after the first trimester, 20+ weeks ago, we also announced our baby's gender and his name. My sister and her husband has been trying to conceive their third kid for the last 5-ish years. However, due to some complications in her previous pregnancy, they have had to do several rounds of IVF. Turns out, she found out she was pregnant 5 weeks after me and announced her pregnancy a little over a month after us. She found out she is also expecting a baby boy, and we were both excited about the idea of our kids growing up to be best friends. Everything was going pretty great until a few weeks ago. My mom decided to come to visit me to help me get the nursery ready and mentioned that my sister had really liked the name my husband and I picked for our baby and that she had decided to take it. My mom then asked me what my husband and I would change our baby's name to, since it would be too confusing to have 2 grandkids with the same name. I told my mom that we were not changing the name of our baby, since our hearts were set on it, and we wouldn't have announced it if we weren't sure. I then got a call from my sister claiming that since this was their miracle baby, she would get first dibs on whatever name they wanted. I told her that she can name her baby whatever she wants, but that we're not changing our minds about our baby's name. Am I the a-hole for not being willing to change my baby's name? Not the a-hole. Your sister is acting like the world revolves around her. I bet she's going to throw a meltdown if your kid is cuter. If you have a baby shower, she will be mad because how dare you have a baby shower and take all the attention off her and her miracle baby. Or you'll be gifted some items she really wanted at your own baby shower, and she will take it from you as she has dibs. Best to go low contact if talking to her doesn't work. This is so on point. We had our baby shower a couple of weeks ago and my sister was trying to talk my mom out of throwing me a shower because this is not her first grandchild. So basically, since my sister already gave my mom 2 grandchildren, I'm not allowed to celebrate my first child. My mom didn't listen, and the shower was awesome, but my sister complained the entire time. Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. As painful as it may be to go low contact, you may need to protect your baby boy. Your sister is displaying such pettiness. She may pin her son against your son to prove her son is better than yours. Also, baby showers help new moms with the gifts for the baby. So she was willing to take away items for her nephew, ruin your experience as a first-time mom, create drama, and didn't want to celebrate your son's birth. Does your sister get another baby shower? With her logic, she shouldn't. My uncle's ex did this with me and my cousin. We're not quite a year apart. He and I are great now, but back then, everything was a fight she started. She pits us against each other repeatedly, when we so very clearly wanted to be friends. I'm glad it ended okay for y'all. I'm afraid he'll turn the other boy into bullying Opie's kid. Go on, take the toy. You were the miracle baby. You announced the pregnancy and the baby name. 5 weeks later, your sister got pregnant through IVF and decided to try to name her baby the same thing. That's not only creepy, but envious. You can't just take someone else's baby name like that. She's free to name her child the same thing, but there will be consequences to that, I'm sure. In the form of, isn't your sister's kid named the same? And didn't that kid come out first? People can do the math here. They're not stupid. Just stand your ground on the name, tell her she's free to name her child whatever she wishes. The situation will resolve itself. Once the OP has the baby, it officially names him the chosen name. I predict the sister will not use it. She's way too selfish to have her baby boy be number 2 at anything, especially her sister's son. I do unfortunately see years of petty comparisons. It's sad that OP's sister can't be happy for both of them. Last story is titled, Am I the a-hole for refusing to wake up early to make my boyfriend's kids breakfast? I, 26 female, have recently moved in with my boyfriend, 37 male. He's the breadwinner while I'm currently unemployed, but in the process of looking for a job. He has 2 school-age kids, and they're the best. We almost don't argue at all except lately where he's been expecting me to wake up early every day to get the kids ready for school and make them breakfast. The complicated ones, since the kids are super picky eaters. I was confused since he used to handle this part. I ask why. What changed now? And whether he actually believes in gender stereotypes, because it's ridiculous to expect me to prepare complicated breakfast every day because I'm a woman. He said I was wrong with my assumption, but figured since I'm unemployed, then this is the least I could to help him out. It'd make the kids breakfast and get them ready for school while he focuses on work and earn a living since he's the breadwinner. I corrected him saying I'm not a stay-at-home mom. I'm just temporarily out of job and plan to find one. I asked what he's going to do if I start working. Is he going to expect me to get the kids ready and make them breakfast still? He said since I'm not working right now, then needed to pick up the slack. Then we'll talk once I find a job and start working. He advised me to regulate my sleep schedule and stop staying up all night to be able to wake up early in the morning, which was offensive of him to say, because it came off as controlling. But I told him I refused to do what he's telling me, and he ended up calling me lazy and irresponsible. Also claimed I'm an opportunist, constantly making excuses to get out of doing chores even though I cook and clean. I think he wants me to play stay-at-home mom, although I said I'm not, when the kids are mainly his responsibility as a parent. Am I the a-hole, or is he? Added to add, I do help with the kids from cleaning to cooking for them and also teaching them in the kitchen. However, the morning routine has always been handled by their father. In the past, he wouldn't even let me intervene in their homework. And yes, I did all that while also working a job. Now he's calling me lazy regularly in front of his family. You can only imagine how awful that makes me feel, and like I'm not doing enough. Info, I'm wondering about rent/mortgage/utilities. Opie, how much do you currently contribute financially to the household? If not that much, I feel like making a non-financial contribution seems reasonable. If you don't like making breakfast, what other offers have you made? Answer, $0. I get where you're coming from, but at the same time, I see what he's saying too. You live in his house. He's working all the time right now and you're not. I don't see what the big deal is with making his kids some breakfast. What do you do all day/night? If they're super picky, then tell him to buy foods that they like to make it easier on you. You're the a-hole. Also, I'm not judging on his delivery because something is telling me you're just saying it how you like. This. I have to agree that you guys have a communication problem, but he does have a point. Yeah, definitely a communication problem, but like, come on. I'm not gonna have someone move into my house and be an employee doing nothing all day while I'm working. Plus, dating a man with kids? Do you expect to just never have to be part of the kids' lives and help out with them?